Hello, hello. I hope you're not too tired of my face yet, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of your Moodle and your assignments. So here is your Moodle page. This should look very familiar from last semester and from your other classes. I think, as you know, I like to sort of outline my Moodle with an overview of the class, which you'll find here, and then your required and recommended texts. The required texts for this class are as same as last year, your OTPF 4, your APA manual, and your APA manual is going to be critical for when you complete your diagnosis specific study guides, and I will go into that shortly. Using APA formatting for the reference page and for in-text citations. And then you have your documentation manual. It's Gately. If you happen to have the earlier version of this, the 4th edition, that is perfectly fine. But the newest edition that just came out is the 5th edition. The other new text is Pendleton and Crone. This is your Pedretti's. You'll hear me say this in this class and every other class going forward. WWPS, what would Pedretti say? That Pedretti accounts for about 60% of the questions on the NBCOT exam, so that is your go-to, that is your everything, that is the book. Before you go to Dr. Google, make sure you go to Pedretti first to find the most correct answers. The other required text for this course is Lundy Ekman. This is your neuroscience book, the 6th edition for Fundamentals for Rehabilitation. If you happen to have the 5th edition, that is okay. It is missing several chapters. So if you have the 5th edition, let me know so I can help you get those chapters that have since been added. You will also be referencing your the functional anatomy for occupational therapy that you used in Dr. Simmons' kinesiology class, and we also will be using EHR Go. It's a subscription to a simulated medical record environment, and we'll be using a lot of the case studies and be doing some documentation in EHR Go. There are several recommended texts. They are just recommended. They are recommended in my classes throughout the remainder of the program. So you don't need to get them. They are just recommended. They really are helping with treatment planning, intervention planning, handouts. It's stuff that you can take with you into field work and out as an OT, and then this quick reference guide by Jacobs and Simon. So the rest of the layout should look pretty familiar. I'll be putting announcements here that will be for the entire class and that are directly pushed to your email. Any muddy points that you have for this course specifically, you can put them there and I will answer them. ICE video link to the library for reputable sources when doing research, and then how to read a textbook. And again, this article should be pretty familiar. If I've not introduced it to you already, I know I've talked about it, so please, please, please make sure that you read that to best understand how to effectively read a textbook. Because just reading it and highlighting it at the same time is not conducive to retaining the information. So really can read this to help understand how to read a textbook. And then here's a little welcome from me. You can read that later. And then my expectations for this class. Objectives, which, I try to do objectives each week, and then keeping you updated on what the assignments are. So these are the assignments for pre-week. So let's get into the syllabus and the addendum. So the syllabus will look very familiar. Oh, it's not letting me download it directly. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here we go. So the syllabus will look very familiar. It has an overview of policies and procedures for the class, so make sure that you read those, but that's very much the same as every other year. The syllabus does not change, the policies and procedures do not change. We have hopefully helped in your organization for you all this year with compiling all of your assignments into one spot. I hope this is not too overwhelming, but this is your assignments addendum, and this is where you'll find all of the assignments for this semester. So this should look very familiar from your syllabus. It's just an overview of each assignment. And now here is the rubrics and the details. So the diagnosis study guide, each of you are assigned, I can't recall, a handful, 3 or 4 diagnoses that you will do an in-depth research on and outlining that diagnosis. So as I said in my previous video, we do not treat the diagnosis, we treat the human who happens to have the diagnosis. But we need to know what the diagnosis is so we can anticipate what to expect when we see this client. And likely you will see a client who has multiple of these diagnoses all wrapped up into one body. So for example, I had a client who had cerebral palsy at baseline. He had a stroke, a massive stroke when he came to see me. So I had to understand the etiology, the signs and symptoms, I had to understand the structures that were impacted based on his diagnosis of cerebral palsy at birth, and then what to expect with was a left, I don't even remember exactly. I want to say parietal occipital lobe stroke. So he had sensory impairments, he had visual impairments. So not only on top of his weakness from the cerebral palsy, he now had weakness because of the stroke and other visual and perceptual deficits. So I had to really understand what all of that looks like together to most effectively be able to evaluate and treat this gentleman and create an intervention plan and treat this gentleman. So that is the bulk of what one of the big assignments is the diagnosis study guide. The diagnosis study guide, I do have a template here for you all to follow, and everything on the rubric is in the template. I want to bring your attention to this here where it says, once you've received feedback on this study guide from me, you will have 3 days to update it based on my feedback and then return it to me. I will not change your grade, but you will need to update and return the study guide based on my feedback, because these study guides will be shared with each class. You all will be sharing these study guides, and I will do that. I will post them in a folder on Moodle so that you will have them going forward. And then, so there's your template that you can cut and paste but out of this document, but I have also uploaded a copy of that into your Moodle assignments. I have assigned you each these study guides, and you will also find that study guide due dates in the assignments and syllabus folder as well. And that will say what the diagnosis is that you are researching and then what the due date is. And you'll see that not everybody's assignments are due on the same date. So make sure that you write that in your calendar, what the due date of your study guide is. And then that will help you compile and create this study guide competency and presentation. So you will choose on your own, I'm not going to choose it for you, which of those diagnoses you want to do further research in and create a case study. The case study will follow this outline. You will create a person with the diagnosis. You will answer all of these questions. You will create this presentation. And sorry, this is wrong. I will fix it. So you will have the opportunity to meet with me in week 9, and we can go over an outline of what you've created. Now you will have 30 minutes to maximum to give your presentation. And you will also be prepared to demonstrate 10 minutes of a treatment session that you have created for this case study. So we will talk about that more as the time comes, but you'll have 30 minutes total to give your presentation. You don't need to write this in a paper. It can be on a PowerPoint. Again, we will talk about this more as the time comes, but you will also be demonstrating some of your intervention. And here is the rubric, and this should say 30, so I'm going to change that when I get off this video chat with you all. And then each of you will also be peer reviewing each other. And I'm a big fan of peer review. It's hard to give feedback. It's hard to hear feedback. So I want you all to have the opportunity to observe your peers giving their presentations, giving their, demonstrating their intervention or their treatment session, and then giving valuable feedback. And you also will be required to ask a question of your peer. So not just the person who's doing the peer review will be mandatory to ask a question, but anybody can ask a question. But the person who is doing the peer reviewing will also be asking questions. And then there are several learning activities, a movement analysis that will prepare you for an when we're in class and we have some guests coming in, where you can understand how to help move and transfer and perform ADLs with a client. And then you will also complete an evaluation. You'll watch a video and you'll complete an evaluation and create a treatment for that client as part of your learning activity. And this will also be in preparation for another opportunity where clinicians will be coming in and you will also be doing an evaluation on them. We will talk more about this as those time come. Don't be too concerned about them now. They're not until the middle of the semester, but make sure you're looking in your syllabus for due dates. And let me see if there's anything that I am missing. I'm sure there is, but also I'm sure that you and I will be in constant contact and I will update you on everything. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you week after next.